doing special things as they love to do. But listen, you had the fun of Shohei Ohtani. I'm all over the place with this because it was such a fun like catching up.
Are you all right, man? Did you have a stroke?
I'm all over the place with this because, again, I was away, so I'm watching this and the highlights version of it, the condensed version of these games, and it was really, really fun to see the way the Dodgers sucked and then were really good, but arguably the best game of the year, early candidate for greatest game of the year. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm excited to get the Dodgers home, get past the long ass road trip. You had some good starts in there, and again, the top of the order, as we saw in the tweet, very, very good with Mookie, with Shohei Ohtani, with Freddy Freeman. I do want to talk more about them, but all three of those dudes each had 7 hits in the series. You got Michael Conforto, Max Muncy coming out the schneid a little bit. It had everything. You speak now.
Yeah, we will talk about MVPs doing MVP type of things coming up. We're going to break down what Mookie, Freddie, and Shohei did. We're also going to talk about some of the surprises, in your opinion, the shockers, if you will, of the series. But let's start talking a little bit about the fact that pretty decent starts from Dustin May and Tony Gonsolin. Yeah. Not so great starts from Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki. And I want to focus in on those two first, because this was the first time, Clint, that they had gone on what they consider to be short rest, right? Normally they go once a week, but because of everything going on with Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow and Kershaw working his way back and all of the things, they had to go on their turn on short rest. Now, think about this for a second. These guys, I would imagine, are pretty routine-oriented folks, right? I am a very routine-oriented person, right? I have trouble with the curve. And what I mean by that is if I have something, my day is planned out, right? Like I'm pretty OCD, pretty anal in terms of how I go about things. If all of a sudden somebody says, oh, we have can you jump on this call really quick? I know we were going to do the call tomorrow, but I need you on the call today. That kind of throws me for a loop because I tend to be very organized and very deliberate in how I go about it. So I'm wondering if this is more of a routine-oriented situation with these guys and how much that affects them mentally when they're not prepared, really. Not saying that there's lack of preparation in terms of them getting ready, but this is something new, is my point. And baseball players are so routine oriented and so superstitious, if you will. How much do you think that's a factor in the results that Yamamoto and Sasaki had?
You'd have to argue it's at least a small factor for the both of them. Obviously, they'd been pitching on Fridays and Saturdays. For every Friday this season had been Yama Day. Every Saturday had been Sasaki Day. So to get back onto a regular, normal, old school type 5-day rotation, I'm sure threw them off a little bit, but also, facing new competition. You have, new to them this season at least, the Diamondbacks want to beat their big brother or whatever it is when the Dodgers come into town. As Mookie told us last year, every team, when we play them, it's their World Series. So they had, you saw it too. Ketel Marte, he had the biggest, he's swinging out of his damn shoes. Of course, Lourdes Gurriel for his game tying grand slam in that insane Friday game. He thought he would have walked off a World Series there, pulling a Joe Carter on him or something like that. So I think it's a combination. I do think there's at least a small factor, though, for Yama and Sasaki being a little off their rhythm, but also more so for Yama maybe getting sucker punched a little bit, while at the same time just not being as crisp as he has been. And oh no, there goes my Cy Young front runner. His ERA ballooned all the way up to 1.8. What are we going to do? We might want to DFA that guy. I mean, he's under 1.5 now, not under 1. I don't know what we're going to do with him, but I want to go back to that Friday night game. A couple of things that stood out as far as that. And you know what? I don't mind that Yuli Gurriel was doing all this. I don't care. Like that, or Lourdes Gurriel. Make baseball fun. That's fun. That's exciting.
I don't mind that at all. But this is something that I saw when Shohei Ohtani had his home run. You never would have seen this personality when Shohei was in Anaheim. Look at that. I love that. I mean, this is the guy that is the face of the game. He comes up in the biggest moments. We don't talk enough about how good Shohei Ohtani is, Clint. And the personality coming out, I love it. You never would have seen that 3 years ago.
Absolutely not. This is not. Well, I mean, I think generally people in Anaheim just aren't happy people. Why would you be happy in Anaheim? But this is a dude. He's a World Series champion now. This team relies on him, but it's not just him. And he also, I mean, you watch him. You see the different character since he's come to LA, and more so since the dismissal of Ippei Mizuhara in his every waking moment of his life. He's happy. He is enjoying himself. He is a 30-year-old dude playing a kid's game like a child, and he's having fun, and he really enjoyed the hell out of that homer. And it was a big homer. I mean, after the back and forth of that game, by the way, how about this? Talk about a roller coaster for our friend Sarah Langs there, more your friend than mine. I have not met her, but still, a lot of up and down in that game. Nothing, multiple lead changes and all of this kind of stuff to eventually end up with that eventual, go-ahead game-winning homer. Show felt real damn good about himself, and props to him.
I mean, I can only imagine what that feels like. I can only imagine what it feels like hitting a home run in the show, let alone a home run of that magnitude in a series against your divisional foes. You're trying to see how we measure up against these guys. Again, the schedule has not been, it's been weird, right? I mean, just to finally see the Diamondbacks here in May. We don't even get to see the Padres until June. I mean, the schedule's been really quirky. So these games mean more, right? The first order of business is to win the division, right? And that's now you're starting to get into the series in which you're allowed to do those things. So I'm not psyched about a split, but I do remember that we were on the road. I, of course, wanted 3 out of 4. I would, of course, love to go 10-0 on the road trip. But we're also bitching, Clint. This is what's so funny. We're also complaining about a first-place team. We're also poking holes at a team that has the best winning percentage and the best record, not just in the National League, but in all of baseball. So, I mean, again, we're being a little critical on a team that is doing exactly what they need to be doing. Season ends today. They win the division, and they're heading to the postseason. Obviously, we're almost at the quarter pole of the year. We'll get into that more on Thursday. But I'm not mad at this club for any of this. We're going to talk a lot more about it, but I mean, whatever. I'll take it.
To add one thing to that, again, we said at the top, they went 6-4 on a 10-game road trip, 3-city road trip. That it felt like they played generally poorly, but it speaks to the strength of this ball club and really, like you're saying, the insane expectations we have as fans. You take winning 6 of 10 ball games literally on the road, literally any goddamn time. So that's what you got. And by the way, like you said, best record in baseball. They're doing it. 13 games over 500, doing it without Blake Snell, without Tyler Glasnow. We'll talk more about them in a minute. Teoscar Hernandez is sideline, Tommy Edman sideline. It's crazy to think how good this ball club could be when they're actually firing on all cylinders and fully healthy. 3 doubles, a homer, 4 runs batted in, 4 runs scored. Mookie, he had a homer, 2 runs batted in, 4 runs scored. Shohei Ohtani, of course, the star of the show. 7 hits, 2 doubles, 2 homers, 6 RBI, 4 runs scored. Like you said, it feels like we don't talk enough about Shohei Ohtani on this show. It also feels like we don't talk enough about Freddy Freeman, who's having arguably the best season of his career in a Dodger uniform here. Look at these numbers.
Yeah, it's insane. Freddie Freeman, who gets still gets treatment. If I could read, it would be helpful. Who still gets treatment on his surgically repaired right ankle for 1.5 hours before every game, hoping he can finally get healthy by the All-Star break. Went 4 for 4 with 2 dubs and a home run. He is hitting .376 with a 1171 OPS. So his OPS over 1,000, topped only by American League MVP Aaron Judge. This guy is ridiculous. And you know what's insane, by the way, and I don't need to know how to read for this. I forgot how long Freddie Freeman was actually in Atlanta. Everyone's like, oh, probably 6 or 7, 8 years. Freddie Freeman was a big leaguer in Atlanta for 12 seasons. He's already been with the Dodgers. This is his 4th year in a Dodger uni. I mean, this guy is a 16-year, I don't know exactly the amount of big league service time he has, but the point is the guy's been in the big leagues for a very long time. And to your point, Clint, he's having probably one of his better seasons offensively, and he's still not 100% physically. And we just take him for granted. As you mentioned the other day on X, there is nobody more reliable on the planet than Frederick Freeman.
Love them.
I just love the fact. What I love about what you were saying too is Freddie, Mookie, and Shohei all had the equal amount of hits, right? They all had 7 hits at the top of the order. I think that's pretty cool. There's some symbolism in that, and they kind of mirror each other in what they're doing. One guy gets going, then goes number 2, then goes number 3. It's just a pretty special thing. And again, we have 2 guys, MVP caliber guys, in terms of what they mean to the team. Maybe not MVP in the league, but Tommy Edman and Teoscar Hernandez on the shelf, and they're still able to do this. What I'm a little bit more concerned about, and I do want you to talk a bit about your shockers, Clint, and we'll get into this, I guess, in blue balls, is just the starting pitching depth, and that concerns me a little bit. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you what you thought about is it too early to talk National League MVP voting? Are we getting ahead of ourselves here? I mean, can we talk about that, the way too early NL MVP case?
Listen, we're big time talking heads here on the internet. We can talk about that every damn week if we want. And
all right, we can do whatever we want. I can do whatever I want.
Listen, if we're talking NL MVP favorites right now, Freddie, for me, is Shohei is going to be in every single conversation for the rest of his life, and we are eventually going to see him pitching. That's an important factor. Of course, he threw a bullpen in Arizona over the weekend, and as our boss man, producer Mark, showed us before we went live here, everybody and their grandma was watching that bullpen at Chase Field. Shohei's
going to a lot of quarter zips, right? A lot of quarter zips.
A lot of the Q zips. That's when you know. That's the high up exec
Shohei's
types, but. Freddie doing great. Mookie doing great. Also, I mean, you got to factor in the shortstop, move for Mookie, where, the numbers, you don't need to be hitting 340 with 40 bombs to be a MVP caliber shortstop, and he's playing a very, very good. We need to actually dive in at some point and talk about how good Mookie Betts has been at shortstop and keeps getting better as the season goes along. But when you're talking about MVP candidates, those 3 dudes are right up there at the top. I mean, I think you have to look at Teoscar Hernandez with a little bit. And I know this sounds very homery when we're talking about it, but Teo has meant so much to this team when he's in that lineup, when he's healthy. Of course, that's your team MVP last year. And when you look around the National League, there aren't a bunch of dudes really taking off with it. Fernando Tatis Jr. having a very, very nice year. If you're looking at Baseball Reference wins above replacement, he is the NL leader at 2.9 wins above replacement. Pete Crow Armstrong having a very, very good season with the Cubs.
He's having a strong year. 2.5 what is it, B WAR, and then Fernando Tatis Jr. is what you said, 2.9 B WAR. You got to think about the Francisco Lindors of the world, the Pete Alonsos of the world. Again,
the world. Once he I don't know. At some point, it's a name brand,
Sure, but you got to have the numbers to back that up too. But let me ask you this. Here's the issue I have, not an issue, but I mean, this is a fact of the matter. I mean, when you think about Mookie, when you think about Shohei, and when you think about Freddie, and I'm not necessarily throwing Mookie in the conversation for MVP yet, because he's still got to get some of that weight back. He's still got to get his power back. He wants his bat speed to increase in the zone, those types of things, whatever. He's putting a lot of effort into his defense, but I don't ever worry about Mookie Betts, ever. But the problem is the Dodgers kind of cannibalize each other, right, in the MVP vote, because they're all on the same team, Avi. And I do think that there's some like laws of attrition there, where they kind of eat each other's votes because they're all on the same team. So it's like, you got a really, really good shot of a Dodger being the MVP, but it's almost taken away from their teammates. And I guess you could say the same thing about Lindor and Alonso. But I do think that, Shohei's always going to be at the top of mind, especially if he's doing it on both sides of the ball.
It's
but Freddie Freeman, the consistency that this guy has day in and day out. I mean, he just wakes up, rolls out of bed, and hits 300 on the year. You know how hard it is to hit 300? Like as a career average.
Yeah, I struggled to hit 300 in slow pitch softball these days. So what Freddie does is insane. And I would be remiss, because I know she's watching out in the living room right now, Mrs. FRG. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we have messed up a number of times on the show. That's Dodgers legend Freddie Freeman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. FRV. My bad. Yes, he is Dodgers.
Right. Get the lyrics right. God.
What did I say? What did I call you?
FRB.
No, I said G. I said G.
Well, whatever.
You just can't hear.
I'm not drunk. You can't talk.
No. I still think that
I can't talk.
fake Ryan Gosling is BS because you look nothing like him. So anyway,
I'll show
that's
you
neither here nor there.
Anyways, there's all that. Do you want to talk about the bad stuff and get into a little bit of blue balls?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.